Lori, I've read an awful lot about this idea and the concept of servant leadership, but it seems to me in reality, most leaders think that their employees exist to serve them.
Servant leadership, it's one of those, it's almost an oxymoron.
Right.
People feel like, what, I'm a leader and I'm supposed to serve? We think more of service coming from the front line. So servant leadership, I guess it's important to understand it first. And it's not about that the leader's not in control or the leader's not responsible, but it's more of a concept of we're there to clear the roadblocks and empower and enable people to do their job. You think about the traditional structure of an organization and you put it in a triangle, and it's the CEO and then the C-suite, the executives, the leadership, supervisor level, and then employees. Invert that, turn it upside down, and take a look at CEOs, C-suite, thinking about how do I empower and enable them, because they're the ones who are touching our customers. They're the ones who are, so I need to serve in that way. Also, you think about just that whole mentality of I'm here to help. Generosity in the grit model. It comes quite naturally when we know our truth, when we're aligned to that, when we respect other people. That's the outcome of this. And the servant leadership is all about wanting to pay it forward, wanting to really make a difference in an individual's life, not just for the profit of the organization or not just to make my job as a manager easier. This stuff dates way back to Lao Tzu. I mean, he was probably the first one that really talked about servant leadership and more in, of course, just a humanistic kind of way. It was probably about the 70s when a gentleman by the name of Robert Greenleaf wrote a paper that pertained to the workplace on servant leadership. I learned most of what I know from Ken Blanchard, the famous 1 Minute Manager book on servant leadership. And now it's a very important concept in the workplace, but it's surprising how many people don't really understand what it is and the importance of servant leadership.
Well, I think the tendency of most leaders is to think, well, if I'm a servant leader, then you mentioned control here. I don't have as much control. I don't have as much power. When I think, if you're a servant leader, I think just the opposite. I think you achieve more power. You're more beloved. You have more influence in the organization by being a servant leader.
You have troops that would go through any kind of battle with you. You have people that are so highly engaged because you show that you care so much about them. That's something that's so intangible. It's something that we can't really measure, but it's probably one of the most powerful things that we have as a leader. So if you genuinely care about the people that are on your team, you think about it, like these people are giving a part of their life to you. How do you look at that and appreciate them and think, how can I serve them? How can I help them? Because when we're really focused in that way, that's when the real reward comes. That's when your profits soar. That's when things happen that it never would have happened that way because of the energy that's behind it. When it's forced, when it's all about the bottom line, when it's that you feel like your employees should be serving you, there's kind of a natural resistance there.
So how do you shift to become a servant leader?
It's all in the mindset. It's all realizing, first of all, being aware and going, well, what does that mean? What does servant leadership really mean? Like we explained. And once we figure that out and we realize that, okay, this is just basic human kind of stuff. It's not rocket science here. It's just realizing that as human beings, the number one thing that we want is to feel like we belong, to feel connected. And servant leadership helps somebody feel that way. It helps them feel that they're cared about in that way. And when it's genuine like that, that's, of course, when we see the huge impact. So really, the biggest thing we can do is just be aware of it. Take a few seconds out of your day. Think about the other person. Put yourself in their shoes. Think about, how can I help them be successful? Because that, in essence, is going to come back. And when we do it in a way that we're focused truly on helping them, not just I'm going to do this so that I get something out of it. That doesn't work as well. I mean, it'll have a little bit of impact, but it's not going to work as well as truly being genuine. And that's something that each one of us has to look inside, going back to our truth, integrity, respect, generosity, look inside ourselves and go, what are we here for? What's our purpose? And it really is to serve and help other people.